Alright, welcome back to another quick installment of Julian's Random Projects. Taking a minute to highlight this kiosk that I picked up. The motivation is that I need to get it cleaned up because I'm planning on selling it. And the goal originally was just to buy it, enjoy it for a little while, get it cleaned up, and then move it on. And so that's what we're doing today. Now, I bought this thing not working, got it up and running. We'll go over that in here in a second, how I did that. And then also got it cleaned off. So here's a little bit of some of the cleaning we did just moments ago. So this one would have been on all the time, and the reason it's there is it hides the crime of the lock. So that keeps dust out of it, it keeps kids from shoving things in there, trying their own keys, whatever. And that would have been there. And then any promotional material, advertising, some new game comes out, whatever, it can just be laid on here in the same fashion to go right over this one, and the magnetism would still work through this magnet and onto here. And it's on there pretty good because it has all that surface area for it. We'll get it wiped down and then we'll pop this thing open. Whenever you guys are cleaning off some of these sensitive electronics or just sensitive plastics and things, or plastics that are combined with electronics, so you don't want to go squirting this stuff right on because it'll run down the buttons into the membranes that are underneath them, and sometimes actually get onto the PCB or the printed circuit board. Not good. So what I tend to do, which is if I want to wipe down something like this that definitely needs it, is I will squirt the rag itself. It sort of dissipates. There's no running Windex that's going to like go down anything. It's just, now it's a damp Windex cloth. Pretty grody. Yep. But this is the kind of stuff that, a little bit of elbow grease really adds a lot of value. Look at that. Just wiping it down with some Windex. Isopropyl alcohol would have also been good. I just don't feel like smelling it right now. Strong reaction to isopropyl alcohol. A lot of fucked up stuff in my life happened around isopropyl alcohol, cleaning pads, and sanitizing things. Cleaned up. Get the rest of this thing kind of wiped down and dusted off. Trying to get this thing looking nice. So that brings us to here. It's all wiped down, sanitized. Not that I'm worried about germs, but just someone wants to come over and take a look at it and buy it. When they walk up, seeing a bunch of kids like dried boogers and fucking jam hands were all over it, and everything's all dirty. Like it's not appetizing. The price starts coming down right away. So having this thing on and working, it's the way you want to sell it. And if you pick up one of these or another kiosk, anything that's come from a retail space, expect it to be completely covered and filled with dust. These things ran 24/7. Sometimes they turn them off at the end of the night. Sometimes they just let them run in the showroom floor, and these would be in there for years in some cases, while the life of that product. And then sometimes they come out with an update. They shrink something down, they come out another one of these, or they might have had two of these and then they came out with a kit. I'm not saying this is the case with this one, but I've seen it in other kiosks where they have like an upgrade kit where you swap out the right one and you put in the new version, the pro version, the slim version, whatever. And so that's something you could do here. Then you would just have to get a little kit that comes with the metal bracket. You can even see here the metal brackets. This one's black and this one's white. That could have been to tie in with the colors here. It could have also just been that it came later. So let's get this magnetic thing off. And we carefully, like I said, the spot that's likely to tear is right here where it's weakest. All right, we'll set that aside somewhere. The reason I got this, the person that was selling it didn't just keep it for themselves, is that they lost interest in it when they weren't able to get it up and running. They didn't have the key for it, and the way I defeated that was I was planning on trying to acquire a proper key. I'll show you a photo of one here. Close-up pictures, because I thought about 3D printing this thing and like releasing it as a file. Nintendo used that same key for the Wii U and the Switch kiosks. They didn't change it, and so now both of those are getting rotated out and they're no longer in retail spaces. But this green key is still floating around. They're in the bottom of a drawer collecting dust at your local GameStop. But they've been given strict instructions not to throw it away. It needs to go back to corporate, whatever. And so they're like hen's teeth. They come up every once in a while, and they command high prices on eBay, and higher than I'm really willing to pay for just a key. Somebody that picks locks and goofs around with stuff. Like I kind of have an idea of like what it's actually, what it's made out of, and I'm like, I can make my own. Just do a little bit of research and then cut my own key. But it has this goofy crescent shape to it. So what I do with this one, and if you get one in the same situation, if you tilt this thing on its backside, kind of almost hanging upside down, you can get your little fingers in there and get a socket around the key. You know, it's one of your basic barrels and nut keys. So if you can get to that nut in the backside and unscrew it, the whole barrel comes out, and you're in. For starters, like, you want to be really cheap, you would just leave it unlocked all the time. But in this case, it's not what you want to do, because it's also the thing that holds the cabinet closed. So once you've removed the Nintendo branded lock, you'll easily be able to reinstall this one. I'm not going to show you guys that. It's literally one nut. Once you guys get a little closer here so you can see what's going on. So we just turn the key, and this whole thing slides out on a drawer. And it's your typical drawer with rails like you'd have from any cabinet or something, or a desk drawer. No one's reinventing the wheel there. And this thing slides out and reveals some very basic stuff, which is just a power strip that lights up the marquee up here, little LEDs behind here. This was way too bright, and so I actually removed it and put sheets of paper to diffuse it and also drop the light down. I also could have tweaked it and maybe put a potentiometer on the LEDs, but that was a quick fix just to do some filming today. So there's a couple different options you can have, and you can see some of the power distribution over here for the lights and stuff. Now the lights, none of that matters for playing the games. It's just like an aesthetic thing. You can even turn it off, but I think it really pops having it on there. And once you own a kiosk like this, you would keep an eye out on eBay. Every once in a while, people that were dumpster diving at their local GameStop or Best Buy or Target might have picked up just the insert back here. If Nintendo would have sent oh, here's the 3 new games we want to push, and so they'd get another one, this old one would just get tossed in the dumpster. And so people have saved those or collected them, and they pop up on eBay every once in a while. So you might find one that had your favorite game, or the game that was popular at the time. So keep an eye for those, and you'd be able to maybe store them in here, or you wouldn't be able to store them behind because the light shines through this way. Like some other kiosks, you can actually start stacking up, like the PS4. This is also magnetic. All these things are just pinned on here as big refrigerator magnets, and you can just lay on the next promo until it gets too thick, and you pull all the old promos off and toss them out. So those are also ones you can find loose on eBay. But keep an eye out for those if you want to have some other options and some customability on this thing. And at any given time, you are restoring it to what the kiosk looked like at that time in the store. So you're not messing up a piece of history or something like that. Cool. And so the other thing that's interesting to note is the retainment and the strain relief for the cable. So when somebody comes up here and grabs this and wants to pull it closer to them and feel it in handheld mode, they're pulling on that pulley system back there. It's a spring-loaded kind of thing you might use to keep some equipment close to your luggage or something like that. You might have an ancillary bag or something. They sell these things, and so someone's just modified them or repurposed them for this, or maybe bought them. Maybe they're completely custom. I don't know. But anyways, that helps. Once this thing's closed up, see, they start to retract, and that allows you the full slack to pull it out. But also wants to keep pulling this drawer back closed. The power supply, the power supplies and this power strip. It's a generic power strip that Nintendo sourced for it, and the plug itself was tucked up in here, and so the guy would have had to go and fish this thing and pull it all the way out to get to the male plug for the AC connector, and then he would have been able to plug this thing in. And he might have done that, and I at one point I started to doubt myself too. Once I got this thing open and plugged this in, and actually all these were unplugged when I got in here, which is something they might have done at the store when they decommissioned this, was just to unplug these power supplies and just let them hang in there. When I plugged them back in, a switch that's been off for months and months, the battery's drained all the way down. These batteries are not treated very nicely. They're kept at 100% all the time because this kiosk is on all the time, presumably. And so that destroys batteries. So the battery that's in here is probably not in the best condition, or you're going to have a lot of longevity. But it doesn't really need to be, because it's constantly going to be tethered to that and tethered to here. But you can see that if we turn off the power, we lose the lights and stuff, but our switches stay on. So they are battery powered. Now those batteries will start running down pretty quickly. But a battery that's been sitting for a long time, completely depleted and discharged, also takes a long time to come back up. There's battery management systems inside the switch that want to really check and be sure that they're not charging a bad cell, because if they do, they might have like a thermal event happen with their battery. And you guys have seen those. They're not good. They're not good for your brand. They're not good for the customer. So they're very picky. The battery management system, that is very picky about what it will charge. So you have to give it time. And for these guys, it took 30 minutes or more of just leaving it alone. No indication, no button pressing, no nothing. It just was sitting there. And then it finally gave me like oh, we're going to charge this thing before it'll boot up even. So I let it, I went and got dinner and came back, and one of them was on. And the other one followed suit shortly after. So be patient with these. If I'm talking about like 6 people in the entire world that are going to buy one of these, but hopefully you guys find it interesting to voyeuristically look through the stuff that come across. So still a little bit of dust in here. I'll get that stuff here off camera in a bit, but I think it is ready to go. Let's take a look at one of these. Each switch has different things, so let's take a look at them. The content that's on them. Oh boy, and dare I have any audio going? I don't think so. Let's go back out to the main menu here. We'll just scroll through some of these things. Of course, if it says at the bottom demo, it's a playable demo. That's something you can actually go through the first level. The first, I think Zelda is not the level, it's a time limit. It might be a fun speedrunning event to see if you can get it done in the same amount of time that the demo had originally. Maybe that's been done already, I don't know. Or play it on a demo, but like get to Ganon and beat him, on the kiosk version. That'd be kind of fun. And it might have the full game on here. There's enough storage space with this and a couple of these other lightweight games. It might actually be the full game, but just limited in a time window. Oh yeah, so it's gonna go through that's the what I would call the attract mode. I don't know if Nintendo calls it that, but there's not, from here, there's not any menus. There may be, you guys let me know down in the comments, there might be like a Vulcan Death Grip kind of like, or a Konami code to put in to get into some menus, some different things. But for the most part, this is just set up so that, nobody can really none of the customers that step up to the plate can do any harm here. But I know, you can go through some of the different things. You can select categories. You can look for, games that are multiplayer, games that are for everyone instead of just teen games, whatever. And so aside from this build, which I understand is just a custom build of it, there's not a specific hardware revision for the motherboard that's in here. So one could dump this. Actually, we might try that here. I might try to dump the one on the left with that RCM thing and try this and see if I can get the full NAND dump off of that before it leaves here. But let's see, the version of Zelda that's on here is 1.5.0. That might give you a timeline or a window when this thing would have been put out here in the store. But yeah, you can go through. Let's see. Start right on the Great Plateau, or you can go through the whole intro with the bathing in water and voices talking to you all soft. So what I was saying while this thing's loading, to get these things out to as many stores as possible and not have a special revision of this, they just created this caddy that holds on to the Switch itself. So and a store, if they had a problem with one of these, could probably order a new one, like somebody damaged it or whatever, or it stopped booting or something. They could swap it out. You just have this not game bit, but one of these like security bits here, which is like a Torx with a hole in it. You'd unscrew that, this thing would slide up, the other one would slide down. The cord is a bog standard Nintendo charging USB-C cable. So all that stuff, you just swap it out and get your thing. You could also swap this out and put in a retail Switch and then play play the games you want to have on that. Another thing that might be worthwhile to do is there's a power button here, and it's covered up, which is convenient because you don't want people power cycling this thing or using that button. And that might have something to do with the Vulcan Death Grip Konami code that you would need to get at that to get into some settings. I don't know. I'll play with that another time, hopefully before I sell it. But if this was mine, it's going to stay in my game room long term, I would drill a hole I'd take this metal case off and I'd put that in a bandsaw, or not a bandsaw, but a drill press, and I would poke a hole in there so that I could get my finger or maybe a pen and a stylus and push on the power button and see what that does for me. Let's go take a quick look at the original Switch. The other thing that's kind of interesting to mention is that this would have hung at about hip height, maybe a little bit higher, so kids can get to it on a retail display. And so the way I've got it hung on the wall here is in the back there's one long metal bar that is like a kind of a L shape, and it would have been ready to like click onto or hang onto a mounting system on a retail shelf. All I had to do here was build a sort of a French cleat, I've got a length of 1x3 board that is screwed into the studs in here because it's a pretty heavy unit. So a couple of screws into the studs, and then I let it protrude or hang off from the wall just the thickness of that metal bar. The lip would then drop onto that piece of wood and hold it plenty strong. So it just hangs up there. So you can then set it at any height that you wanted to against your wall. So easily mountable, that's all I'm saying. All right, let's take a quick look. Not a lot different, just a little bit different content, some different games. These are clearly modified in the back. There's nothing else retaining the Joy-Cons, and so normally you push that button and slide it off, but they don't want these things like disappearing from the store all the time. So they're held captive in there, and I don't know how they're doing that. I don't know if it's a set screw or they just completely removed the mechanism or made it a one-way click where it clicks in but it's never going to click back out. I don't know. That's the biggest difficulty of getting in here with the RCM shim and trying to do a NAND dump of this, but surely it's been done. Just bang through all these games. Some stuff similar. Then they got some other promotional stuff like Starlink here. Not playable, it's just like a trailer for the game, which is not on the Switch Lite. So now with a key and a way to actually latch this thing, lock it in place, it's pretty serviceable little kiosk. It's something I might buy again when I've got a proper. Right now this is like my home office / game room, but I'd like to do a proper game room, and I think I might pick up one of these in the future if a proper game room presents itself in my life. But in the meantime, this is going to get rehomed and move on to be enjoyed by other people. Right now, the girls have played it. They've gone through all the demos. They're kind of done with it. The next thing I would do to make it more playable would be put it in a place that they hang out more, maybe in the den, and put a retail switch on here loaded up with their games. But it be a challenge to be swapping out the game card, so you'd probably want to jailbreak it and then install the stuff to the NAND or to an SD or a memory card of some kind. There's some things you could do, but I like that these are always on. They've got that attract mode, and you see like, oh cool, I'm gonna go play that game, or watch it reminds you that this thing's on, and you walk up and you're ready to go. Versus ones that are off all the time, I think they'd be less likely to sit there. And also, you have to belly up to the bar here. You have to sit at this thing or stand next to it to use it. And so I think it's fun for people that are visiting your game room, but for you to sit there and work your way all the way through Zelda or something like you want to do Breath of the Wild. I don't think this is the best ergonomics for going through that entire game, being tethered to this thing, but it could be done. So hope you guys have enjoyed tagging along and learning something about a kiosk. We'll be doing, we already did the PS4. I've got a Wii U kiosk that I want to highlight. That one I've been keeping long term. I enjoy that. I'm nostalgic for the Wii, less the Wii U, more the Wii. And we'll be keeping our eyes open for a Wii console or for a Wii kiosk to add to the collection. I think that those are ones I would probably keep long term. I'm less nostalgic for the Switch, so that's why this is going to get rehomed. Cool. Any other questions? You guys want me to try something or something that you thought I was going to cover and I didn't? Let me know down in the comments, and maybe I'll post up another quick response, and we'll check that thing out. So appreciate you guys watching, and make sure you subscribe for more random projects from Julian.